Happy Christmas Eve, y'all boys, man. We are here dropping a wish list video for college football Dynasty 27. I want to focus on the Dynasty part because this probably will be a long video. I have no idea how long it will be. I will tell you I have 121 notes, 121 bullet points on this wish list video. It is going to be very detailed, very extensive, and I'm going to talk about a lot of things in this video. I understand with this wish list is not a typical wish list video that you probably have seen. Some of this stuff is probably not realistic for college football 27. Maybe some of this stuff will make the college football 28 game, but my goal with this video is to give y'all and then also hopefully EA watches this and give y'all all of the information and everything that I want. And then also I took feedback from the community, things I've seen throughout the year on my video. And then I asked specifically on Twitter. Go follow my Twitter down below. I asked y'all boys, what do y'all want to see in college football 27? So I took some of that notes and I put it all in the video. It'll be broken down from recruiting, team builder, gameplay, everything in Dynasty will be in this video and things I hope to see, and then maybe even a couple ideas at the end that's not in the game but is a real wish that I think could be great for Dynasty. One other thing I'm doing in this video is I'm actually rating each category. So we have recruiting, then I also have a rating for college football 26, just my opinion on how recruiting was in this video game, because I actually haven't done like any type of rating of college football 26 whatsoever. So we're just going to include that into the wish list video. Now, if y'all guys enjoy this style of content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate y'all boys. Drop anything y'all have down below. Anything I missed, because it's things I'm passionate about that I want to see in a video game, and that might not be the same thing you want to see. So drop it down below. EA has said they watch these videos and they look in the comment section to see community feedback. So drop anything you have down below. Subathon happening over on Twitch, probably right now when you're watching this video. We're going to be doing a rebuild, maybe even a road to glory, everything over there on Twitch. However many subs we get, that's how long we'll be live, however many followers. So go over to the Twitch and help out with the subathon. Let's hop in. So gameplay in the background is going to be my Purdue Dynasty. We just started a new year. It's the perfect time to tap into the Purdue Dynasty. Go check it out on the channel, having the ball with that series. Just started year 3. Now let's get to the business. The first category that I want to cover here is going to be recruiting. And I have literally about 40 bullet points just talking about recruiting. So on the year, I gave out of 10, all of these will be out of 10. I gave recruiting a 6.4 out of 10 in my opinion. And I'll kind of talk through some of this stuff throughout these bullet points. Recruiting overall, I think is fun. It's just tedious at times when you do so many dynasties, all of this different stuff, how much we play the game. Some, me and some people that watch the channel, like we just do so many dynasties and recruiting. It can get tedious. Just, okay, we got to take the hard sell off. We got to put the soft sell, or we got to put the hard sell on. We got to change. Like we just schedule a visit. You got to do this, that, and a third. It gets a little bit tedious at times. Overall, if you're a new player, if you're a player that don't play that much, it might not have got to that point to you. So let's hop into the bullet points. So the first thing I would like to see improve for college football 27 is going to be scouting. I personally think we get too much information while scouting. And when I say too much information, for me, it's like you get to see 10 of that player's best attributes, or 10 of that player attributes that matter the most. Then you also get to see his abilities, mental and physical. Like we just get so much information. Then you also get the gym, or he's a bust. You get to see that stuff. So you could kind of know instantly if a player is very good. Then you also get the finesse you could do with, especially the athlete dual threat quarterbacks, is where you could see their overall essentially. Like you could see the best quarterback with the playing time deal breaker, and you could finesse that. So it's like you just get so much information with recruiting, with scouting, that I think it makes it a little bit too easy. So I would like for EA to go in the direction of either a threshold is between 84 speed to 89 speed, and then maybe you have a coachability that narrow it down even more, or maybe you have a coachability that does tell you the exact attribute, or go to the grade system like Madden does. His speed is a B. His speed is a B+. And then if you have the coachability, it's an 84, whatever. I would love to see that system. Next, recruits feel a little bit too similar, and then also recruiting is kind of predictable. It's easy to find a great player, and kind of what I talked about a little bit with the playing time deal breaker. You could find the best quarterback in every class in about 1 minute, 2 minutes of work, which is insane in this game. That's insane. I mean, it's insane. Obviously, in real life, you kind of know who the best quarterback is, but just from like doing research, but in the game, it's just like too easy to find the best quarterback. And then also, like I said, recruits feel super similar. Like you have the same exact generational type recruits, and it's not even real generational recruits. For example, the 6'6" receiver, every single time they're going to be a 5-star. They're going to be great. If you find one, amazing. You know, the athlete middle linebacker, they're always pretty much amazing. They come in with the good speed. It's like all of the archetypes for recruits are super similar. I would like to see a little bit more diversity with that. Next, archetype means way too much in recruiting when that's not the case in real life. And when you're recruiting, all you have to do is really pay attention to the archetypes, you know, and it's not really like that in real life. That's not how recruiting goes in real life, archetype based. You know, you never hear coaches really talking about archetypes. Obviously, this is a video game, but it's too archetype based. So I would love to see them go away from, you know, everything has to do with archetypes. You know, certain archetypes progress better. Certain archetypes get these abilities, that. So I would love to see College Football 27 somehow go away from archetypes. I'm not sure the perfect answer for that one, but that's something I personally would like to see. Some programs have no players interested. This is another issue that I hope will be fixed in College Football 27. When I say players having no players interested, Kansas State, they literally will have no players interested their first year. Why? I don't know. It got to be like a glitch. It's like some other programs. Houston, you'll have some teams in the transfer portal like Colorado. They don't have that many players interested in the transfer portal. And we've seen this issue last year, and it returns again this year. So hopefully they fix some of those issues. But for, you know, 99% of people, or most people that don't watch my channel, or even you do watch my channel, you might not have seen that video where I talked about it. You go to a Kansas State rebuild and you figure out you have 10 players interested in you. And it just makes recruiting a lot more difficult when you have that. So hopefully that gets fixed in College Football 27. There's something wrong with like the 3-star range, 3.5 to 4-star range for prestige, for your school prestige. Like when you go up to like that 4-star range, you no longer have 3-star players interested. And it doesn't really make sense. It's like, okay, I'm a 4-star prestige, but 3 stars still should want to come here. They should, but they don't. They don't. It all shifts. So it shifts to like 4-star players and 5-star players, you know, when it comes to your program, but you don't have any 3 stars. And depending what type recruiting you do, what type of dynasty you're doing, you might need those 3-star players. And it's a little frustrating when you have to convince them to come to your program, even though you're a good team. So hopefully that gets improved. The school prestige get changed a little bit. Next is too many 3 stars that go under recruited. And I don't know the perfect answer to this, but I think one idea is have like the FCS schools. We have FCS programs in the game. Obviously, you can't see their rosters. You can only see, you know, it's the fake FCS teams. Well, have those 3 stars that's being under recruited, have the FCS teams like recruit them, but they don't do a good job or something. Just have some type of immersion like that where the 3 stars, the 2 stars, the 1 stars, they go to these FCS programs, because it ends up being so many 3 stars disappear, which is fine. That's fine. It probably happens in real life. In real life, they go to, you know, another program. But these 3 stars are very, very good. Some of these 3 stars are gems. You'll even see 4 stars go under recruited. That's gems. 5 stars, gems go under recruited. But at least they'll usually find a home. A lot of 3 stars just don't find a home, and a lot of good players end up going nowhere. I don't think there's any reason to ever go after a 2-star or 1 star. And maybe if you had some more competition with the 3 stars, like I said, some of them go to FCS, maybe you'll be forced to bring in 2 stars, some 1 stars with a 1-star program. Next on the wish list, I would like for recruiting to be a little bit more user friendly. And one example I brought up is, for example, when you hard sell, right? Let's say you put the 50 hours in, you finally learn all 3 of his motivations. They're highlighted green. You have to take the send the house off, which take time, and then you have to go in, put the hard sell on, but it just doesn't just highlight the hard sell. If I know all three of his motivations, just highlight the hard sell. I want to go there, just highlight it. I don't have all of the locations memorized, and I don't ever want to get to the point where I have them all memorized. I always got to just go through, and of course, it's the last one I look at. That's his proper hard sell. And that's, like I said, that's not the end of the world. That's just having the game be more user friendly. And it's a bunch of situations like that where just have it user friendly, like just have it simple for the user or easier for the user, because this guys is doing a lot of dynasties and it get a little bit tedious where you constantly got to go through, I don't know, all his motivations, got to put the hard sell back on or send the house back on. So just make it a little bit easier for the guys that's doing, the recruiting. Next on the wish list, I want auto recruiting to work and be usable. So the current version of auto recruiting is horrible. It doesn't work, I don't think, how it should. So one example of the way I think it should work is, okay, I identified 35 players that I'm interested in. I put auto recruiting on and the CPU auto recruits for them. They auto recruit those players. So they'll go after, they'll put the hours in, they'll schedule the visits, they'll take the send the house off, put the hard sell on. They'll do all of that stuff. The way recruiting or auto recruiting actually works right now is you could add 35 guys. You can use all the hours. You advance a week with auto recruiting on. They'll change your whole entire board. You'll have all different players on the board, whoever the CPU wants, and they'll do their own thing, and they do it very bad. Auto recruiting sucks when you're a user in the program compared to if you just wasn't taking over that team could bring in a solid recruiting class. I don't know why it just sucks when you're a user in the program. Next on the wish list, recruiting at times feel too easy, but also tedious. I kind of talked about this, but the too easy part is really, in my opinion, a big deal because you could take a 1-star team and go get a 5-star, which is not realistic. Maybe you bring up Deion Sanders and how he did it with Travis Hunter. He got a 5-star. It's realistic. Are you Deion Sanders? Are you Deion Sanders? Is your coach Deion Sanders? Most likely no. Just most likely no. You usually don't have a coach with a lot of, that's already level 50 or whatever, and you're going to a 1-star program. That's kind of what happened with Jackson State. And the reason I say he's a level 50, not because his coaching experience, because his playing experience, so that's a unique situation. So I will argue it doesn't happen. It doesn't. So I'm not saying take that out the game completely where you could get a 5-star at a 1-star school. I think it should be 1, more challenging, because right now I think it's pretty easy to do that. But 2, I think good players need to be recruited. Like you have 5-star gems under recruited, 1 scholarship offer, no scholarship offers, 4-star gems, good players. They come in with elite development, 1 scholarship offer, under recruited most of the year. Stuff like that just don't happen in real life. That, in my opinion, needs to change and be adjusted, and just make recruiting a little bit more challenging for the bad programs, man. I think the rebuild should take some time. Like if you're winning games, okay, that changes everything. Winning changes everything. Also, so does money. So does NIL money. But the more you win, the more money you get, more NIL money you get, and the better players you get. So at the end of the day, everything should, lead back to winning when it comes to building your roster. And instead, you could really build a great roster with horrible records when, I said, I don't think that's really the case in real life. Next, deal breakers need a rework or to be removed. And the biggest issue with deal breakers is going to be playing style, but I have a whole bullet point dedicated to that. There's other deal breakers that's also just don't really make sense. The playing time deal breaker also needs some work, but I have another bullet point just dedicated to that. In the current version of the game, deal breakers lead to guys not going anywhere. That's a lot of the issue. For example, you hit the transfer portal, you'll have a guy, a 4-star transfer, he won't sign anywhere because the deal breaker capped them out from teams being interested. He have 8 teams in his top 8 that he want them to go after but they don't want him. And his deal breaker is just a limitation. In real life, He's going to change that deal breaker if nobody won him. He's not just going to go to 9 to 5. If his deal breaker is championship contender and he's bad, that makes no sense. It makes no sense, man. Like, if he's a bad player, but he wants to go play for a championship contender and none of these championship contenders won him, he's going to go play somewhere. You know, maybe he goes to Syracuse, maybe he goes wherever, but he just wasn't good enough to go to Alabama. So deal breakers need a rework. Also, you have kickers transferring out for playing style. You have so many quarterbacks transferring out for playing style. You have, you know, bad players, once again, caring about the wrong stuff, like going pro. You should not be a 65 overall player, a 79 overall player trying to transfer out because you care about going pro. In my opinion, that should not be happening. So deal breakers just need a little bit of a tweak. I think it's the right idea. I don't think it should be completely removed. I just think it needs to be a little bit tweaked. And the next bullet point is playing style deal breaker needs a rework. Players leaving after winning the Heisman. And I keep bringing this up because in one of my live stream dynasties, go check out the Twitch, y'all boys, we was playing our dynasty. You know, Marcel Reed, that's the starting quarterback for Texas A&M. He wins the Heisman. And they go on to win the national championship, right? Okay, cool, great year for Texas A&M. He hits the portal. Okay, no idea why. Would that happen in real life? Probably not. Guy wins the Heisman and then also wins the national championship as a starting quarterback. He's probably not going to hit the portal. He hits the portal. He transferred to Alabama. I believe it was Alabama. It might have been a different team. But he transferred to another team to be the backup. He was the backup quarterback. I think he actually went to Florida because I think DJ Lagway was a higher overall. This is before the update. I think DJ Lagway was a higher overall. And Marcel Reed ended up being the backup. But it's like, why would Florida even go bring in Marcel Reed? One, you know, especially when they still have DJ. But why would Marcel Reed go there to be the backup? So he goes there to be the backup. And they win the Natty as the backup. He wins the Natty as the backup. He didn't play. Then he transfers again to be a backup once again. So the deal breaker situation gets kind of crazy, the playing style deal breaker. But that's why he entered the portal for A&M, was the playing style deal breaker. And that same deal breaker just kept causing him to like ruin his career essentially. So the playing style deal breaker definitely needs some work. Another situation is like, why does the high school quarterback really care if your current quarterback throwing for 270 yards per game? Maybe, but I don't know. He probably cares more about if you're winning or, you know, I don't know. I just think that's wrong. You know, you had the number one quarterback in the nation, not this year, but the last year, Bryce Underwood, go to a Michigan team. That year, the quarterback play at Michigan was not good. He went there to change it. It's like, we're bringing in you, this 5-star quarterback, to change the bad quarterback play. So the playing style deal breaker, in my opinion, needs to be completely removed or heavily tweaked to where it actually works how it should. Next, playing time deal breaker is also just not great. Like I said, we kind of talked about it earlier, but you have guys entering the portal for playing time deal breaker, but it's like we had no idea. Like if I bring in a freshman running back, he's a 3-star, right? 3-star comes in, let's say 68 overall. He's the 3rd string. It's a chance he enters the portal without ever expressing he had a playing time deal breaker. I never knew. I thought you was good with redshirt, and you're a 3-star, buddy. You have normal development. I thought you was good being a 3-star. Like, what do you expect? So have some way for the player to, or for us to know that, hey, this guy got to play or he's going to transfer. Like, just have some way for us to know, because when it happens to your 4-star player, you know, that's annoying. Obviously, 5 stars, it's expected. A 5-star player not playing, it's expected he hits the portal. But 4-star, 3-star, it gets kind of annoying when they hit the portal and you kind of left like, how was I supposed to know he had an issue not playing? Like, he's a red shirt, you know, caliber player. So hopefully the playing time deal breaker gets improved. Also in a portal, it needs some work, but we'll talk about that later. Next, recruiting system needs to be redone. Need a new system with NIL. And we have a whole section talking about NIL, so I won't cover it too much. But the recruiting system, I feel like just needs, we had the same system for 2 years now. Same system for 2 years where we put the center house, then we transitioned to the hard sell. Sway, I thought Sway was good at the start of the year. It's okay. You know, I personally don't use Sway. It's okay. But like, it's just one best recruiting method. I feel like it should be multiple ways to skin a cat. It is multiple ways to skin a cat. Feel like it should be multiple ways to recruit. No, it's one best recruiting method. If you're not doing that method, you're missing out. And the best method is, you know, send the 50 hours with the center house, okay? Once that's over, once he hit his top 5, and you can now schedule a visit, put him on a visit, preferably a good visit or a visit that's going to help out that player, you know, with complimentary visit, all of that stuff against a better team. You want to do all of that stuff for the visit. And then you transition to the double soft sell. If you don't know all 3 of his motivations, you got to decide between a couple of different options for the hard sell. Just do the double soft sell, put the extra 10 hours in, and then after that week, you'll find out his hard sell. Then you put the hard sell on. That's your best recruiting method. It's one best recruiting method. I feel like that should not be the case. So hopefully the recruiting system gets some changes. Like I said, we had it for 2 years in a row. So I feel like this 3rd year, maybe they change it. Maybe we get the same system. Either way, it's on my wish list. Next, I think national rank needs to matter. Simple. For high school recruiting needs to matter. It matters. It don't matter at all right now. The star rating matters. That's all that matters. Is he a 4-star? Is he a 5-star? Is he a 3-star? National rank means nothing in high school recruiting. That needs to matter. Next is have recruits be dynamic and starting rank changes like it does in real life. So, for example, you know, I talked about this a couple of times. Let's say you have the number 1 player in the nation. He's a quarterback, right? He's a quarterback. He's a 5-star player. Okay. In simulation, while you're simming your year, let's say he's also playing high school football. That's how it goes in real life. He's playing high school football. We're playing our dynasty college football. Well, it just so happened this time he's having a bad high school season. His national rank drops. It drops down to the number 35 players. So he's no longer a 5-star. He's still a 4-star, high level 4-star, but his overall drops, his rating drops a little bit. And maybe even his development trait started as a star, but since he played bad, it went down to an impact, or maybe it started at elite and went down to star, and he just had a bad season. Well, if we would have went back on that save file and simmed again, maybe this time he has a good season and he stays the number 1 player in the nation. His attributes actually increase a little bit, and maybe it's a little symbol that, hey, this player is on the rise. It's a check up saying this player is on the rise as he is having a good season and his development trait stays at elite. All of that good stuff. But point is, like, have the recruits be dynamic and have them be able to change every single simulation. You know, every single simulation, it'll be different. Compared to now, it's preset. Once you advance to that new season, every single player attributes, you know, rating, development trait, to my understanding, all that stuff is set and doesn't change the entire year. You just don't find it out what their ratings are and their development trait until the end of the year. Well, have it be dynamic and change with the player. And also let us see the player's stats. If he's a quarterback, I want to see his high school numbers. Maybe you don't tell me his first 3 years. Just tell me his senior year numbers. You know, okay, he put up 4,000 yards in high school. Okay, that's a guy. That's a guy. Only 200 rushing yards. Okay, he's not a guy. You know, also another point, I want to be able to see 40 times. You know, I want to be able to see bench press for offensive linemen. I want to be able to see some of that stuff instead of just seeing, oh, he has 88 speed. You know, I would like to see some of that other stuff and let me put it all together how good this player is rather than the CPU kind of just feed you the information. This player is very, very good. Now, I understand that could be tedious, so give us the option to have it one way or another in the settings. So for players that don't want to have to do all that extra stuff, I totally understand it and I respect that. Next, we need to have On3 recruiting and other platforms for recruits. So in real life, you have ESPN. They'll rank recruits. So he might be a 5-star on ESPN. There's another website called On3 Recruiting. He might be a 4-star on On3 Recruiting. And it's a third website called 24/7 Sports. And they also do recruiting. He might be a 4-star on 24/7. But what On3 Recruiting does is they combine the 3 websites. They might even be a 4th website. They combine the websites and then they give that player a star rating. And then you have a 5-star plus player. That's when that player is a 5-star on all the major recruiting platforms. That player is obviously very good, and all the recruiting platforms recognize that, and there'll be a handful full of 5-star plus players. But point is, give us different, websites or different platforms that rank these high school players. And I think it just adds a whole nother layer to Dynasty. It just adds a lot compared to now. First of all, the rating system means nothing, so we got to make that work, and then also add other platforms that will give these players ratings. And you can see, okay, this website got him as number 1, this player got him number 2, this website got him 26. Who's right? We'll find out when we actually get them on campus. Next, I would like for the gym or bus system to return. I do want that to be on the wish list. I just want us to know exactly what it means. I have ideas. Many people on YouTube got, thoughts. They say it's facts, but, what a gym or a bus is. All I know is I brought in a bus 5-star that looks like one of the best running backs I've seen. He has 1 skill cap. He has star development, and his ratings are amazing. I mean, he's an 81 overall also. We brought in 2 5-star. This is my Michigan live stream. We brought in 2 5-star running backs that class. The other one came in as a 78. The bus one came in as an 81 with better attributes, better star rating, and then also 1 skill cap. But they called him a bus. And then you'll have gyms, you get them, and it's like, damn, why is this guy a gym? So my understanding of the gym and bus situation is like, okay, if he's a gym, maybe it's some attributes that's, making him a gym. His development trait probably a little bit higher. Well, when it's a bus, it's like, okay, his development trait probably a little bit lower. Maybe it's an attribute. But it's so many situations where that's not the case. So I would love for them just to clarify what is the gym or bus system. Like, what does it actually mean? Because you'll see some gyms and bus, and it's like, all right, what's really going on here? So next, school prestige is a good idea. I think that is, we had it in the game for 2 years now. It's pretty much the same exact system. It's the same exact grades for your schools. I would like to see that stuff like refined and maybe even, add a couple more grades. But I want school prestige to be a little bit more interactive. Like, it's so difficult to get a 5-star school. Let's say Alabama. Let's say they're a 5-star in the game. Or I think Michigan is actually a 5-star in the game, something like that. One of those schools that's considered a 5-star, it's so tough to get them down to a 1-star. You actually can't. You cannot get them down to under a 3-star. You just can't. And I feel like that shouldn't be the case. If I want to do a death penalty rebuild, I want to be able to tear this school down and then build them up. And then on the other end, it is too tough to get a 1-star school to a 5-star school. I understand it might take 10 years, but even with 10 years, you can never get it up to that 5-star. So I would like for school prestige to be a little bit more interactive. And in my opinion, that's the point of a dynasty, is to make a bad school an amazing school. So that'll get into some other stuff with pipelines and, how we can't change that. But next on the list is actually pipelines. Pipelines need a rework top to bottom. And I agree. I think the pipelines from last year to this year are exactly the same, which is not a big deal, not a big issue. But we don't have dynamic pipelines. Isn't that such a simple, or maybe not a simple feature? I don't think that's a simple feature. I don't want to say that. But it's just a thing that you would expect to be in the game. You would expect that to be in the game. Pipelines is important. So the way I want pipelines to be done, and y'all feel free to leave your opinions down below, I think pipelines should be dynamic for the coach. I think the school should have its set of pipelines that don't change. So for example, let's say LSU. Let's say LSU got pipelines in Louisiana, let's say Ole Miss, let's say Texas, Georgia, maybe even Florida, and maybe throw out one more location where they just have Arkansas. Let's throw out Arkansas, where they just have pipelines in those states. And those do not change. They don't go up or down. They don't change. Well, your head coach and then your coordinators, they have their own set of pipelines that's dynamic. So let's say LSU got a 1-tier pipeline in Georgia. Let's just say that. Well, my head coach is dynamic, and it all changes on how well I recruit, what the programs I was at, and where I was recruiting there. It all changes depending on that and where my guy is from. He's from Philly, so maybe we get a Philly pipeline. And now when I'm at this school And I have a 2-tier pipeline in Georgia. LSU got the 1-tier pipeline in Georgia. Now we got a 3-tier pipeline in Georgia. So I think that's how it should work. And then maybe our OC got also a 1-tier pipeline in Georgia, but now we're up to a 4-tier pipeline in that state. So each coach just have their own set of pipelines. So therefore, like, okay, I started my career in Louisiana, but now I moved around. It's like, I'm still going to have those pipelines with me. I'm the coach. I'm still, even if I go to Philly, I'm still going to have some ties in Louisiana. I'm going to know some high school coaches, this, that, and the third. So I'm still going to have that Louisiana pipeline, even if I move to be the head coach at Temple, if that makes sense. So I would love for them to do it like that, but please share your thoughts down below. Next, need to increase the recruiting classes from 35 to 50 players. I think 50 is a good number. Maybe you go 45. I think 35 is not enough. I think that's part of the reason you see so many players disappear in high school and then also in the transfer portal, because there's not enough roster spots on each team. And especially the big teams. Like Georgia sometimes will sign 35 players in high school, and they'll hit the portal and they won't have any more roster spots for transfers when that's just not realistic. Or, you know, they'll sign 30 high schoolers, hit the portal, and they only have 5 spots left. It's like, damn, that's not realistic. And then I feel like that's also part of the reason you see when you hit the off season, and we'll talk about this later, when you hit the off season, schools will remove players that they had on their board, high school players that they had on their board, to then go after transfers. And it's because it's like, damn, we don't have enough spot for the transfers. We got this 5-star high school player. In real life, they will continue to pursue him, but we need transfers. Then they shift their focus to transfers when they hit the portal, and they remove the high school guys. So that stuff, if we just increase to 50 or 45, I think that could also be a big help. Next on the wish list, I want a setting for Dynasty and recruiting. I want a setting for everything, but especially recruiting. Let me put recruiting on Heisman, or maybe we do it like 2K where it's a number from how difficult is recruiting from 0 to 100. And that way it just helps everyone. It's like it helps the new player where the default setting, maybe the default setting is start on 50, 50% difficulty. And then for me, I'm going to go ahead and put it on maybe 80, maybe 90, maybe 100 and make it more difficult for my rebuild. So just put a setting on it, man. Put a setting on more things. And, customization is going to be a whole category that we'll talk about in this video, but it's super important and needs to be in this video game. Next is decommits and flips need to be a part of the game. Coaches leaving should have a direct impact on the roster and commits. For example, if a head coach take a job somewhere else, or if your head coach get fired, whatever, that should affect recruiting. You should have some guys decommit. You should have some guys flip commitments. You should have players enter the portal because that coach left. You don't have that in the current version of the game. Decommits, they happen. They're super rare. It happens. The biggest example is like maybe playing style deal breaker or even championship contender. You get a guy to commit, let's say week 5, he's a championship contender, and you have a really, really bad end to the season, and you end the season with your championship contender being very low. That guy could decommit, but sometimes he don't really reopen his commitment, and sometimes he end up going nowhere because he's already like in his top 3, and the other 2 teams or the other 3 teams don't pursue him, and he ends up going nowhere. So where stuff like that happens, but decommits and flips definitely need to be a part of this game. I'm not sure the best way to do it. I'm not sure if you able to pit, okay, well, this guy committed to this program. We have extra hours this week. Maybe I could somehow put hours into this committed player. And I don't know how to do it where it's not just overpowered, but maybe you could see, oh, this guy is flimsy. And when I say flimsy, maybe his commitment is not strong. And maybe that's for every recruit. Or if you have a guy scouted enough, or you put enough interest or hours into a guy, you could see how strong his commitment is with Alabama. And he's like, oh, he got a weak commitment. If we put enough hours in, maybe by the transfer portal, we could get him to commit. Or maybe they have a bump in their season, Alabama, and he decommits, and we could hop in and we could flip him. So as some type of way for decommits and flips. EA, y'all boys smart over there. Y'all can figure out how to add that to the game, but definitely needs to be in there. Next on the list is we should be able to bring commits or coaches with you to the new school. So, for example, the coaching carousel, we'll also talk about that a lot in this video. But when I do take a new job, maybe I'm the the head coach at Tulane and I go to Florida like John Summerall, maybe I pull a couple players from the Tulane roster to come with me. Maybe I pull a couple commits from that roster to come with me to the new program. Should be some way to do that in the game, and currently is no way to do that. Or you're Lane Kiffin and you go from Ole Miss to LSU and you bring your almost entire offensive staff to LSU. It should be some way to like at least try to convince my OC to come with me, or try to convince my running backs coach to come with me to the new program. Currently, no way to do that in the game. Next, great 4 stars and 5 players should not be under recruited. We kind of talked about that earlier. You'll have 5-star, 4-star elite development players. I have plenty of examples on my channel of 5 stars, 4-star elite star development guys that end up being under recruited and we get them for free because nobody else wanted them. That should not happen. A 3-star, maybe star development guy going under recruited because nobody just recruited. Nobody scouted him. He wasn't found. Okay, I'm willing to hear that. 4-star, 5 stars, that don't happen in real life. Not how it does in the game. Next, bring high school stats to Dynasty. Kind of talked about this earlier, but I want to be able to see how many sacks this edge rusher put up. And maybe we get to that point where we take away archetypes and from recruiting, and we just get to see stats. So, okay, this is a quarterback right here. He threw for 2,500 yards, 25 touchdowns. He has, 3 picks. He had 200 rushing touchdowns or rushing yards. Okay, he is not a, running quarterback. He is a pocket passer. He had 200 rushing yards that whole entire season. That's not his game. Or if we get another quarterback, we get to see his 40-yard dash time, and he threw for 1,000 yards, but he rushed for 1,200. Okay, he's a pure running quarterback. I would love for that to be in the game rather than, okay, we get the archetype and it's straightforward and we get not enough information on what he did in high school. So I would like to see some stuff like that added to the game. Next, we have need storylines for high school players and maybe even a player reclassifying. Like you have so many of these high school guys reclassifying. For example, Ryan Williams is the receiver for Alabama who is, getting a little bit of flack for this season for just dropping balls. Still a very good player, but he's dropping some passes. The reason I bring up Ryan is because a lot of you guys probably don't know his high school story. The reason he was so young playing in college football, and it was such a big storyline last year. Everyone's saying he's only 17. He was only 17 years old, and he was picking up, some crazy numbers last year. But he won Mr. Alabama 2 years in a row in high school. What is that? That goes to pretty much the best player in Alabama. Not the best receiver, the best player in Alabama. He won that award 2 years. He won it his 10th grade year and his 11th grade year. You might be thinking, why didn't he win his senior year? Because he reclassified. He went to the league, or he went to college football his senior year. He reclassified. So his what would have been his senior year, he was playing for Alabama last year. That's a massive storyline. Have that in Dynasty. Like that, have that in Dynasty. This 5-star player reclassified because he played that well. And you get to see the stats. Maybe you get to see, okay, he won Gatorade Player of the Year. He won this in this state. He did this. He won a national championship. Okay, we know he might be a clutch player, blah, blah. I would love for storylines for high school recruits to be in Dynasty. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for that to be added. Next, dynamic deal breakers should be changed. Have a guy prioritize change and making his career make sense. For example, like the way dynamic deal breakers work right now, you'll have a guy, he'll come in, let's say a 3-star player. His deal breaker could be championship contender, but it could be a C+. And as his overall goes up, that will go up from a C+ to a B- to a B to a B+, and it just depends on his overall. Well, what I'm saying is have his deal breaker actually be dynamic and actually change. Okay, he was a 68 overall when he got to campus. He's now the junior, and he's now the 90 overall player, but he's playing on Arkansas State. His priorities should now have changed to get drafted, also to win a national championship. And maybe it's a little bit different, but somewhere like that, that's what the dynamic deal breaker should be, in my opinion. Like, okay, this player just had a crazy breakout. Now he cares about something that he didn't when he was 18. It's like that's dynamic to me. He wants to now win a national championship and play on a great roster, or he want to get coached by the best coach, or he want this, he want that. Have the deal breakers actually be dynamic and not just have them. And you just kind of see that with playing time deal breaker, but we talked about playing time earlier. It's not great how it currently works in the game, in my opinion. So next, we should know if a player wants to play as a freshman or if it's not a priority. That's another one I talked about earlier. It has to do with the playing time deal breaker. Just give us some indication that this guy needs to play or he's going to enter for playing time deal breaker. Next, need to create a recruit or be able to create a whole recruiting class and upload it to the vault. Imagine that. Imagine if, y'all guys or whoever could create a whole entire recruiting class. Would it take time? Yes, but somebody would do it. Somebody would do it for the community. And I could bring in, a crazy recruiting class from 5-10 years ago. Maybe I want to bring Calvin Johnson and his recruiting class back to college football. Or maybe I want to bring back, Marcus Mariota, whatever, Jameis Winston, that recruiting class back to college football. And I could recruit those players. I could bring them into my roster, all of that. Have some type of element in the game. Like, I feel like that wouldn't be that much work for EA to do, because the recruiting class and the, recruits will be changing. We'll be making, it essentially be create a recruit. Y'all just got to add the feature and have it so we could upload it to the vault so anyone could just download it. Anyone could make these recruiting classes, and it will make also video ideas even better. It just adds a lot more to the whole Dynasty mode. So that's one I think definitely could be added. I'm not sure if we get in 27, maybe 28, but that's one I feel like is kind of low-hanging fruit in the future. Next, we need to find a way to pitch the players to not to transfer. Maybe it's the guarantee them a starting spot or like more NIL money. For example, it happens all the time. It happened in my Purdue series where my starting running back, he goes pro. He goes to the NFL. He leaves early. He's a junior, so he's leaving to go to the NFL. My backup running back transfers for playing time. You're the starter. The CPU or that running back don't understand that he's starting. It should be a way for me to persuade him. Hey, you will be the guaranteed starter, and if I'm lying, you can redshirt. Like, if by game 2 you don't start, you redshirt, and he says, hey, I'm not playing no more. That's another feature we should add to the game, where mid-season guys act to redshirt, or they whatever notification pop up. Hey, this person is not happy with his role with the team. He wants to redshirt. What's your response? Are you gonna play him? Are you gonna redshirt him? Or are you just gonna kick him off the roster? Whatever. Add some element like that to pitch to a player not to transfer, pitch to a player to not to go pro. Maybe you promise him more NIL money because he want to transfer, or maybe you promise him a better quarterback. He's a receiver, he wasn't getting the ball back. Hey, we're gonna get you a better quarterback. Just stay tight. We got some guys coming in the portal. Stay tight. So I would love for that feature to be in the game. Another feature I would love to see. I don't know if they will add this. I would love to be able to talk to other team players during the year. And I know that sounds crazy, but it happens in real life. I'll just leave it at that. I would love for that feature to be in the game. I think that one is unrealistic, though. Need true generational recruits that come in like 90 overall. The Jeremiah Smiths, that come in day one, he's the best player on the roster. And it's clear from overall all the way to when you're recruiting him, like you're getting the absolute animal. We got like generational type players, but they're not like true generational players because they just don't come in 90 plus overall. You don't see that. So I would love for that to be added to the game. And then the last one I have here under recruiting is one we talked about earlier. We need to have 5-star plus players. And that's when that player is a 5-star on all major platforms. And it just shows you, it's a way for you to see, okay, this player is, a very, very good player, and he should never be under-recruited. The 5-star plus players should never be under-recruited. Those should be the players that's the hardest to get in your whole entire recruiting class. So that all was just talking about recruiting, all of that stuff. We have a bunch of other things here. Next is going to be the transfer portal. So I gave the transfer portal a 7.2 out of 10. I think the transfer portal made some very, very nice improvements from last year. One major improvement is like just the settings on the portal where you could turn the portal off. I think that's phenomenal. I always ask for more settings. You could turn the portal off. So I'm actually planning on doing a dynasty here with no transfer portal. Actually, it will be starting probably today. I'm live on Twitch, probably right now when you're watching this. But I love that setting. I love the transfer portal compared to last year. Last year was really bad. Transfers couldn't even progress. Like what was we doing last year? But it's still issues and it's still things that can be improved upon. And let's cover it. First thing, need to fix players disappearing. Have them be in the next transfer class if they're 3 stars or higher. So we talked about this 1,000 times on this channel. You'll have high school players and also transfers that end up not committing anywhere. I think those transfers should be in the next recruiting class if they're a 3-star or higher player. 2 stars, 1 stars, have them 9-5 it. Have them go ahead and disappear from the world. But the 4 stars and 5 stars shouldn't be disappearing. They should be in the next recruiting class. Maybe they took a gap year or whatever. Maybe they end up back on their original roster. Something, in my opinion, needs to happen to them players. I wish it was the second portal window in real life, but they took it away. I think that would have been a great feature to add to the game, and that would have helped some of these guys transferring or disappearing because, okay, they was in the first portal window, they ain't commit, but now the second portal window is a couple players entering, but it's a lot of players that didn't go anywhere, and now they got the opportunity to find a home. So, unfortunately, they took that out, but maybe EA ends up adding the second portal window. We'll see what they do. Next, when it comes to the transfer portal, need to make the portal more challenging for bad teams. Too many good transfers that go under-recruited. So, it's so easy to flip a roster like that. You could flip a bad roster into a good roster with one transfer portal with little effort. Just because it's so many good 3-star transfers that, once again, don't sign anywhere and nobody's interested in them for one reason or another. So you could just cherry pick. You could go after the transfers, the freshman transfers that's all coming from big programs. You could go get, a freshman that's coming from Georgia. Well, in real life, he probably was a 4-star or a 5-star recruit. So when he's transferring over, he probably do have some good development trait. His overall is a little bit higher, and he's going to be young, and you're getting a young player that's going to progress that offseason with that good development trait, and it'll instantly make your roster better. So it's just too easy for bad teams in the portal. And I'm not sure the perfect answer, but we need to figure that out. I think for the good teams, you should be able to bring in very, very good players in the portal consistently, but the bad teams, somehow it got to be way more challenging because the bad teams, like Fran Brown, that's going to be Syracuse head coach said. Fran Brown said for Syracuse, it kind of feels like they swap and spit. That's what he said. But pretty much like they're swapping twos. They're bringing in backups for backups. Well, when you're Arkansas State and you could go get Georgia backup, that's game changing. That's your starter. That's one of your best players on your team, Georgia backup. And, that might sound bad, but that's the facts. That's the case. And I don't think a Georgia backup should just go right to Arkansas State. I think they should go to Tulane. I think they should go to, Purdue, a team that's still, solid or, have some potential, not just one of the, I don't want to say worst teams in the nation, but just not a super low overall team and where you're just able to flip these rosters super easy. Next, too many good players transfer to be a backup. Need a way to stop that. And we talked about that earlier where Marcel Reed transferred to be a backup. And you see it all the time, especially with quarterbacks. So many quarterbacks go to the same teams. I don't know why, but they transfer to be a backup. I don't get it. You'll have starters leaving teams to be a backup. And you saw it happen with Dante Moore. That's going to be Oregon's starting quarterback. And last year, he was the backup behind Dylan Gabriel. His first year, he was at UCLA with Chip Kelly, and he was playing. He was pretty much the starter, but Chip Kelly left, and he entered the portal, and people thought he was going to go transfer somewhere to be the starter. But no, he transferred to Oregon to be the backup behind Dylan and learn. That is rare. You don't really see that happen too much. Now, that happens all the time in Dynasty. A starting quarterback transferred to be a backup, but it don't be any starting quarterback. It don't be a young starting quarterback. It'd be a senior, looking to make his push for the NFL. He transferred to be a backup, and then he'll end up go ahead and getting drafted. Now, one thing that came in mind that's not on this list that I do want to cover, when it comes to guys going pro and getting drafted, that needs to be stat related and a combination of overall. Right now, it's only overall. So you'll have backups that's, a 90 overall, 89 overall. They'll leave early to go pro as a 7th round draft pick with no playing time. In my opinion, that shouldn't happen. It should be a combination of stats and then also a combination of overall and, production and whatnot. And maybe even abilities, factor in the abilities for that player. But right now is just overall. So you'll have a guy that, he could be the best receiver ever in college football. If his overall only is an 86, he just might not get drafted. He might not meet the cut. In reality, even if he wasn't that talented or he wasn't like an 86, or if he really was an 86 overall, he just had a phenomenal year, he still would end up getting drafted. So I would love for players getting drafted to also have something to do with stats rather than just overall, if that makes sense. So next, there's too many running backs in the portal. And that's a simple one because, it just makes no point to recruit high school running backs, in my opinion. I dropped a whole video on it. You could bring in great running back transfers every single year. So I don't know what the fix is. I don't know why there's so many running backs. Maybe it's just too many good running backs in the whole entire league. Maybe that's the issue, but too many running backs in the portal. Some years you'll see too many receivers. I've seen that where it wasn't running backs that dominated, it was receivers. It was like 30 receivers, and they end up not going anywhere because teams don't need that many receivers. Next is need more 4- and 5-star transfers after year one. So year one, if you start a dynasty right now and sim to the offseason, you'll have the same 5 stars in the portal. Jordan Seaton, Colin. You'll also see Isaac Brown. You'll see the same 5-star transfers, but it's like 5 of them that enter. Now the following year and year after that, you're lucky if you get 1 5-star transfer in your portal. And then also the number of 4-star transfers just shoot down. You go from the first year 200 to 250 to around 100 4-star transfers. So I would love for that to improve. And we kind of talked about, it's too many players in the portal. It's too many 3-star players. It's too many 3 stars. It's not enough top level players, in my opinion. And, people would say, it's not enough top level players in real life. Look at the last Heisman Trophy winners, the last 5. They're all transfers. Look at some of the best players in college football. They're all transfers, So it's definitely good transfers. It's just not always the transfer that you think it'll be. The CPU will remove players once the portal hit, and it makes no sense. We kind of talked about this earlier, but when you hit the off season, let's say it's a 5-star player. It happened most recently in my Purdue off season. We did our off-season video. We advanced to the off-season, to the transfer portal, and it's this 5-star player. Russell Strong is his name. We was losing the recruitment. It was at the recruiting battle phase. Notre Dame clearly won this recruitment. We okay, we're going to try. We put 50 hours in. We advanced to week 2 of the transfer portal. Notre Dame pulled a scholarship. Okay. Week 3, they still don't have the scholarship. Week 4, last week of the transfer portal, we have gained 0 influence, by the way. So we're still losing. We put 50 hours in every week. We're still losing. But Notre Dame don't have a scholarship, and somehow it's glitched where we don't gain influence. So I'm I don't know what's happening. I'll advance the National Signing Day. It says he commits to Notre Dame. I'm what is going on? Notre Dame didn't even offer the scholarship, and we tried to put hours in, but he wasn't gaining any influence for us. So he committed to Notre Dame. You advance to the following season, he's on our roster. What is going on? So that's a glitch. And also players or the CPU need to stop removing hours from players when they hit the portal. And I feel like they removed the hours from the high schoolers to focus on transfer players. But it's a 5-star transfer. It's you shouldn't do that or a 5-star high school player. You shouldn't do that for a 5-star. 3 stars, I get that. But 5 stars, no. Next, playing time deal breaker will pop up week 3 and week 4 of the transfer portal. That's another thing on the wish list I want to see fixed. You'll be recruiting a guy. He's a running back. He will be your best running back. And for some reason, you advance to week 3 or week 4 of the transfer portal, and he lock you out for deal breaker, playing time deal breaker. That needs to be fixed. Next, portal settings are great. I love the portal settings, but they do not work too well. Increasing the portal setting just increase the amount of mid players. And I've done some testing with this. I maxed out the portal to where 30 players could enter and then also put the settings all the way up. And the only real difference, it was 4 more 4-star players. 4 more. I remember it was 161. It went up to like 165. Now, the amount of 3-star players went up hundreds. So it was a lot more mid players, but like high level players, it wasn't many more high level players. So increasing the portal settings doesn't work exactly how I wanted it to work. Next is it's too easy to tell the best player in the portal. Like national rank means everything in the portal. High school means nothing. Portal, it means everything. So we know who's the best player in the portal is. And maybe you argue, oh, in real life, you know also. But it's too easy in game. I think in game should be like a combination of overall abilities and then also their year, what year they are. So if they're a senior, maybe their portal rank goes down a little bit, rather than if you could get the same overall player that's going to come in as a sophomore, and then also he's going to come in with a better development trait, well, his rank maybe should be higher, Or also just have it where you have the 3 different platforms. You have On3 Recruiting, 24/7, and ESPN. And maybe you don't get the naming rights to use those names. Just have some platforms, or you could name them whatever, where, okay, this platform got this player ranked number 1 in the portal. This platform got that player ranked number 1 in the portal. And it just makes it so you just don't instantly know, oh, these are the best players in the portal. And, blah, blah. It's just so easy. Next is more players need to start in the open stage in the portal. I hate when there have been plenty of situations where I'm a good program. I'm a 4-star program and I need to bring in a transfer quarterback. I'm a good program. I go to the quarterbacks. None of the 4-star quarterbacks want to talk to me. That's not realistic. I could be LSU. And I can't talk to none of these 4-star transfers. Not realistic, man. You need more players starting off in the open stage, even 4 stars, especially. But like when it's the open stage, maybe only if he's a 4-star, maybe only the top schools could talk to him. But if you the bottom of the barrel, you can't talk to that open stage 4-star player. It needs to be something that fixes that, because it's frustrating when you have a need and it's players in the portal that could fit your need, but the CPU, the game just won't let you even talk to them, won't even let you convince them why LSU or whatever program you are will be the perfect fit. And that's going to be it for the portal. Feel free to drop anything I missed down below. But portal, like I said, 7.2 out of 10 for college football 26. That's one of the higher grades for this whole entire thing. A lot of these grades are just not that high, but I think the portal was done pretty well. Like I said, I think it needs some improvements. Next, we have coaching. And a lot of opinions on coaching. The first one, or before we even get to that, I gave coaching, all of that, the coaching carousel is included in that, abilities is included in that, everything coaches is included in this. I gave it a 5.5 out of 10, just because I feel like it's a lot of meat on the bone. And I feel like it's the same as last year. I feel like 25 to 26, the coaching carousel, a little bit improved, and the coach's abilities, a little bit improved. Not much. They just changed it a little bit. I'm not sure if they improved it and they made it, they increased the level to 100, did some stuff, but I think it could go way, they could do way more. Now, first bullet point, the coaching carousel needs work all around. That's all the bullet point says. Needs work all around. And it really does. It really does, man. I'll kind of touch on, more details here shortly. Next, need to be able to apply or express interest in an open job. That's simple. If I'm from Philly and my goal is to one day coach at Temple, and I started at, wherever as an OC, I should be able to apply or, at least express interest if the Temple job open up. It should be a way. I should be able to have my agent reach out to the athletic director and, hey, I'm interested. Even if it's not this go around, I'm here. Should be some way to do that in this game. Currently, no way to get to your end job or your goal job, whatever. There's no way to get there in Dynasty right now. Next, job offers need to make more sense. And for example, my Purdue Dynasty, keep talking about it, but it's a Dynasty I enjoy and I play a lot. We had a great year last year. We went 11-1 in the regular season, and we had a first round bye in the playoffs. I go to check my job offers. Arkansas State offered me the head coach job. If Purdue went 11-1 and with a first round bye, SEC teams will be knocking down the door. They would. Not in this game. Not in this game, man. It's like, why would I take a step back? It was like they gave me no good job offers. The best head coach offer is like Arkansas State. I'm like, come on, what are we doing? So the job offers need to make more sense. They really do. Next, coach abilities need to be redone. Most of them feel underpowered. All of them feel underpowered damn near. For example, recruiter, the best in the base level recruiter. The best ability is the first ability, and that's to be able to scout faster. That shouldn't be the case. There's no motivation to buy the tier 4 ability or buy up to the tier 4 ability in the base level recruiter. Just buy tier 1. That's your best ability in that, whole skill tree before you get to elite recruiter. So I think a lot of the coach abilities feel underwhelming and definitely could use a rework or add a lot of abilities, add a lot of layers. One thing I'll talk about here is, you need to have abilities for scouting. Right now, when you scout a high school player, you get to see all 10 of their attributes and you see the exact number. Well, have that be a coach ability. You need this a coach ability to see his speed rating or to see all his attributes for this position group. If you don't have that coach ability, you only get to see, it's a B+. Oh, it's a B. Or, that's how you add layers to the coach abilities. Also, I think that would just make things a lot better, in my opinion. And then also make the coach abilities cheaper. They increased the price for all the coach abilities. I don't think that was the best decision, but they did. They increased the price for pretty much all the coach abilities. It is what it is. Next, each coach should have their own set of pipelines that are dynamic. We kind of talked about this earlier, but yes, every coach from the OC, DC, even if you have, your position coaches, that's one thing I'll talk about, but they should all have their own set of pipelines that change over time. Next, also, you should be able to influence how your coordinators and your position coaches upgrade. So I'm not saying you should be able to upgrade it for them, but if I want to build more of a recruiting heavy program, I should be able to influence my coaches. Hey, I want y'all to focus on recruiting, or this year I want y'all to really focus on being a motivator. I want y'all to really focus on being a better tactician, a better scheme guru, a better coach. It should be some way to focus on that, or to have your coaches focus on that. I would love that. Next, add more coaches to the game, but keep it as an option. This does not have to be a feature that is, required, because some people just might not want to have to deal with hiring OC, then your quarterback's coach, your wide receivers coach, all of that stuff. Even your strength coach. Some people just don't want to have to deal with that. Also, maybe add some off the field positions like your GM. You see a lot of programs now have a GM for their college football team. Also, maybe even a director of recruiting, maybe even a strength coach. The strength coach could be tremendous when it comes to, okay, that helps with, player progression. Okay, I want these position groups to focus on getting stronger. So, okay, this year, really focus on the O-line. Our O-line is weak. Really focus on getting those guys stronger. Or this year, focus really on the D-line or the linebackers, whatever. That would be cool to have a strength coach, also a director of recruiting. That person will come in with a set of pipelines, and then also maybe even like an extension of like coach abilities or something. Same thing with your GM. I think all of that stuff would be cool to add in the game, and it's things that's in real life. But I think that would be very, very cool to see some off the field positions as well as position coaches that you could change, but have it be an option. If somebody don't want to have to deal with that, just have it where you just hire your OC and DC and keep it simple. Next, need a setting for your coach to have an influence on auto recruiting and auto progression. And maybe that's a coach ability where this coach ability, if you buy it for your head coach, you could have influence on auto recruiting. So you could tell pretty much the CPU what I want you to focus on. This year, our quarterback graduates. We don't have a guy behind them. We need a bridge quarterback, but we also need a young lion that could compete to start day one. Focus on getting a quarterback, or auto recruiting. Hey, our O-line had a really bad year pass protecting. Focus on upgrading pass protection for the O-line with auto recruiting. Some way to do it in 2K, I think it's a pretty good system where you could like have auto recruiting and then also, or auto scouting is what it is in 2K, and then also auto progression. I think it's a solid system for that over there. So next, the coach level needs to be uncapped. I don't know why it is. for most people, it won't affect them because most people are not going to get their coach to level 100. But it's just something, in my opinion, that shouldn't be in the game. Next on the wish list, need to add a true coach mode. So we have, a kind of BS version of coach mode in the current version of the game. And what it is, you could just put auto passing on and you could pick the plays. No, have a whole mode that's dedicated to coach mode. If you want to put that on, you could put that on and you're just, you're recruiting, you're bringing in players, you could call the plays, you could, come up with the scheme, you could make the playbook, all of that stuff, but you're not actually using the players. And some people really like to play like that. So really add a coach mode. You kind of have the foundation, just get it in the game. Next, add coach names, coach archetype names like 2K have with build names. This is one that's a low priority, but I think would be a cool feature. So you could upgrade your coach 1,000 different ways. So in 2K, you could upgrade your player 1,000 different ways. And depending how you upgrade your player, you'll get a build name for that player. I think for college football, give them a coach name. So this guy is a scheme guru recruiter or something. I don't, get creative with it, but I think that could be a cool, thing to have in this game. Just a coach name. Oh, what type of coach you have? Well, I got this, crazy coach name. So I think that could be pretty cool to have in the game. Next, give us more information on how coach abilities work. And maybe most people don't care about this, but as a creator that does a lot of testing on the coach abilities, this one is pretty important. Like I tested talent developer, architect, strategist, some of that stuff, but they just gave us, okay, well, this architect ability, 15% of the time when you upgrade, you'll be able to unlock an additional skill cap, or 30% of the time mind reader works. Like just give us more information on how these coach abilities works and what percent it hit at, just so we know. Like, and I don't have to do the testing, even though I love doing the testing and providing that information for y'all. But I think EA on the back end knows how much it is. They just not giving us the information. So I would just say, give us the information, help us out. Next and last one here for the coaches, you should be able to promote to head coach from OC or DC. And there's no way to do that in the game. You see it happen in real life all the time. There's no way to do that. You could be first of all, the OC and DC gets no love. That needs to get love in this game. Another one is when it comes to OC and DC, when you're the offense coordinator, you should only be able to recruit offense and you should only be able to play on the offense side of the ball. Or I could recruit everything. I could recruit every position when I'm the OC. It just makes no sense. So that's going to be the coach abilities. Feel free to drop anything y'all have down below. Anything y'all have on that down below. We have a couple more categories here. Next is going to be player progression. I gave player progression a 6.6 out of 10. And one of the reasons I gave it that because manual progression, a great feature. It's fun. It is fun. I don't think it's perfect, but manual progression is a pretty cool feature that they added. And also you could increase development traits. That's something we didn't have last year. So they definitely made some improvements. So I gave it a 6.6. First thing on the wish list, mental abilities need to be able to improve or change over time. And so the way it currently works, you bring in a prospect, or when you scout a prospect, the mental abilities you see, that's all he have. He won't be able to improve them. He won't lose them. That's all they get. One mental ability that is just very, very good is the instinct ability for the linebackers. Now, if your linebacker have this, tremendous for the run game, but if he don't, he just don't have it. So I just think as guys get older, he started as a freshman, or he really have the ability in high school, why by his senior year he can't develop the instinct ability? So I personally think mental abilities should be able to improve over years, over the course of years. Maybe it's not something you buy like the physical abilities you have to purchase. Maybe it's just something that unlocks over time for certain players. So I would love for that to be added to the game. Next, have influence with auto progression. And we kind of talked about this earlier with the coaching section, but I just want to be able to influence how my O-line progress, how my quarterback progress. I want to have some type of influence. I like to use auto progression. I think that's the best for like a sim dynasty, for a dynasty that's supposed to be more realistic. But I just don't love how my quarterback might just focus on speed when I need him to be a better thrower of the football that year. So I would love to just have some influence over the progression without actually manual progression, because I think it's too good. I think manual progression is too good. And next here is manual progression is a great feature, but makes the game too easy in my opinion. And I mean, simple as that. I think it makes the game too easy. Even with the 25% penalty, I think it still makes the game too easy because you could just force players to be high overall. You just focus on upgrading their archetype, things that's going to improve their overall IQ. You could not focus on abilities whatsoever and just do overall. So I think manual progression could be cheesy if you do it a cheesy way. But so I like to use auto progression. Now, manual progression, I don't know the perfect fix for it. I wanted to stay in the game. I just don't know the perfect fix for it. But in my opinion, just a little bit too easy for a dynasty. Next, need to have dynamic archetypes and abilities. And when I say dynamic, maybe we go away from archetypes. Maybe players just exist. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe you could just upgrade players and any player could get any ability. But if it's more of a passing type quarterback, for that guy to get magician or shifty, any of these running quarterback abilities, it costs more. It's a lot more difficult. So I don't know, maybe we go away with archetypes, or maybe archetypes are dynamic where they could change without you actually having to do a position change finesse. And I also don't love how overall is all dependent on that player's archetype. I would love for a player overall just to be dependent on how good that player is at that position. So, for example, if you'll have a guy, he might be a pass protector, offensive lineman, but when you see his overall, that's his overall just as a pass protector. If his archetype changed, and you could change his archetype, if you change it to raw strength, his overall might go down 5. I would like just to see their overall at that position rather than their overall at that archetype, if that makes sense. So I don't know if we get to that point. I don't know. I think that would, even have an impact on position changes and how crazy position changes can be. But I would like to see some stuff change with the archetypes, because I just feel like the best archetypes are the best archetypes in the game. And if you're not going after that, you are, especially for all online dynasty, if you're not going after the best archetypes, you're almost trolling, if that makes sense. Next, I should not have to finesse the game to get a Lamar Jackson type quarterback. We have the archetype, the pure runner. That's supposed to be the Lamar Jackson, even though Lamar could throw the ball. That's supposed to be the quarterback that could run the ball crazy. If I want that quarterback that could just run the ball, good speed, all of that stuff with a little bit of throwing, I have to finesse the game by moving a gadget receiver over to quarterback. And it's plenty of situations. If I want the best player at that position, I got to do a finesse. And I feel like that should not be the case in this game. So that's on my wish list for that to be improved. Next, EA made an emphasis to patch position changes this year, but now they're better than ever. At the start of the year, position changes broke. Now, I would argue they're better than they were last year. Position changes are very strong. We kind of talked about it. You can make a Lamar Jackson type quarterback only with position changes. You can make the best running back you ever seen only with position changes. You could have a 6'6" corner only with position changes. You could have a 6'5" safety only with position changes. So, in my opinion, they're better than they ever was. And you can even finesse position changes. You could have a guy that's maxed out when it comes to his skill caps. Well, if you just change his position twice, it resets his skill caps. So last year, when you changed a guy's position, it didn't change his skill caps. So those skill caps would stay exactly where they're at. Now you could change skill caps with position changes. So it's just so good to where I would like for them to like what are we doing? Like, they patched it. They talked about it before the game came out that we wanted to fix this, but they made it better. At least when they had to fix it again, because when the game first dropped, it was literally broken because guys would just get these massive skill caps increase even when you're doing a normal position change, if that makes sense. So next, certain archetypes should not be miles better than other archetypes. All should be usable. And the pure runner is not usable, in my opinion. Like, if you're bringing in a pure running quarterback for your dynasty, you're trolling. I personally think that. And you can say, oh, that archetype is in the game for Army and Navy playbook. I believe we should not add an archetype for 2 playbooks. I personally don't think so. Especially if it's not going to be usable for everyone else. And it's still not even usable for them playbooks. You're better off with the gadget. So it's just some archetypes in the game that's miles tremendously better than other archetypes. And I don't think that should be the case. I think all archetypes should have a role and then also have that role actually be usable. And if, 2% of people, 5% of people going to use it, is not worth having in the game, in my opinion. So too many archetypes, I would love to see them reduce the number of archetypes or make all archetypes make sense. Next, abilities need more details and clarification. And when I say that, some abilities, when you look at it from the main menu, it say one thing compared to when you look at it in Dynasty, it say a different thing. How does the ability work? I don't know. It's two different. It says two different things. And then some abilities, when you look at it in Dynasty, it don't tell you the full history or the full details of that ability. Like, for example, some abilities only work on third down, but you wouldn't know that unless you went to the main menu and you looked at that ability. And then some ability, like, just tell us more information about them instead of us, oh, we thinking this work every down. It's only on third and fourth downs, big dog. So we'd love more detail and clarification on abilities. Next, every archetype needs to be able to get their abilities. The tight end, the vertical threat tight end, cannot get enough acceleration to unlock takeoff. They need a 95 acceleration, and they cannot get it. Useless ability to have. Every archetypes need to be able to get their abilities. They did patch some archetypes. Some archetypes they did patch. They made a lot of changes at the start of the year because the game came out not great. But that's one that hasn't been patched. The vertical threat tight end still can't get their abilities. The elusive route runner still can't upgrade catching traffic. So in my opinion, that archetype is useless to me. Catching traffic is so important for a receiver, and that's the only receiving archetype in the game that can't upgrade that. So another one, the physical route running tight ends can't upgrade blocking. They can upgrade pass blocking, but not run blocking, which is, crazy to me. It's a tight end. So like some of those archetypes I would avoid for my dynasties because it's like we can't upgrade key components of that position. So hopefully that gets fixed and, archetypes and abilities just make more sense next year. Next, abilities need work in sim. Right now, they don't work at all. If you sim from week 1 to week 5 without hopping into the game, abilities have no impact on sim. And I think that's wrong. Only overall currently has an impact. Overall playbook. I think that's wrong. I think abilities somehow need to have an impact in simulation because some people do sim dynasties where they play some games, sim some games, but then they manual progress and like, oh, I'm going to upgrade this ability. And they don't understand that they're not helping their team win when they buy that ability, if that makes sense. So abilities need to work in sim. Next, need to add storylines to player progression. If you have this young guy who, had a great all season, he goes from normal development up to impact development or the star development in one off season, and he goes from a 72 overall up to an 85. That needs to be some type of storyline. Have some type of storylines for player progressions, also storylines for recruiting. Storylines need to be in the game. One of my big issues is I feel like I never know what's going on with the rest of Dynasty. And we talked about this a few times. In real life, everything. Your favorite team could be Temple. Everything that's going on around college football, all the major stuff, Sharon Moore and the Michigan situation, Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss to come here. But in your dynasty, you wouldn't know any of that stuff. You wouldn't know any of the major news. Maybe you know about the major 5-star that decommitted and went to a different school. You just know about some of that stuff in real life compared to in your dynasty. Like that stuff is just no way for the game to give you that information, if that makes sense. So that needs to be added for sure. Next, CPU needs to do position changes that make sense for their team. I don't even know if the CPU do position changes whatsoever, but they should. They need to do position changes, and they don't always have to do the perfect position change, but I've seen times where they don't have any running backs. Do a position change, move a receiver to running back, or do something. I don't know if they move athletes around. They'll bring in athlete guys, but I think they just keep them at their original position. If you bring in an athlete middle linebacker, but you really need an outside linebacker, a will, they should move that linebacker to will. I don't think the CPU does that. So I think that should be addressed. And last one for progression here is have any archetype be able to get any ability. And we kind of talked about this earlier. And they don't do it for balancing reasons, but I think it should be in the game. If I have a pocket passing quarterback and he somehow got 90 speed and I want to be able to unlock Magician, have it cost 20 coins. Have it cost a lot for me to unlock it, but have it possible. Have it be an option. I don't like being able to just being stuck with these archetypes because it's for balancing reasons, but it hurts some archetypes. So some archetypes are pretty bad because the set of abilities they get are bad. For example, the zone corner. The zone corner attributes are okay, but they have one of the worst ability sets in the whole entire game. and it makes no sense. And the field corner is so good because they have the best ability set out of all of the DBs. So it's like it gives it levels to the archetypes, and it really lets some archetypes be much better than others because it's not balanced right. So either balance it right or allow all archetypes to get all abilities. So that's going to be it for player progression here, man. That's going to be it for the player progression. Next we have is going to be gameplay. And what I gave gameplay was a 6 or just a 6 out of 10. I think gameplay took a step back from last year personally. And just because I enjoyed the gameplay last year, I really did. And the gameplay now is better after this most recent update. But let me know your thoughts down below on gameplay and also on player progression. But we'll kind of get into my thoughts and what needs to be improved. First, CPU feels too similar. And when I say that, I feel like I can't tell the difference between when I'm playing against Tim Tebow or Tom Brady. The only difference is Tim Tebow will run a little bit more, but they both will have the same completion percentage, in my opinion. They just throw the ball a little bit too accurate, and they check down the ball a lot. They don't push the ball down the field sometimes. So that's kind of my issue with simulation, or not simulation, playing the games sometimes. It just feels too similar amongst every single team. Even though it's different playbooks, sometimes it all feels the same. And then also, I feel like you could finesse the CPU and get a lot of sacks. I feel like getting sacks on defense, when you're on defense, is super easy. Like, I had games where I had like 7, 8 sacks against a team I shouldn't have any probably. And that's because getting sacks, and I'm not even finessing, I'm not even cheesing. We just somehow getting a lot of pressure because the CPU don't throw the ball away when they have nothing there. Next, gameplay feels too easy even with hard sliders. Last year, the gameplay with Heisman difficulty, that's all I needed. I didn't need any sliders. Compared to this year, I need to have sliders to play this game, or it's too easy. And everyone won't have that issue. Some people, play on All-American and they're having a hard time. I'm just telling you my experience, and a lot of other people experience that play on Heisman. A lot of people are having, or just feel like the game is too easy. From recruiting to gameplay to transfer portal, too easy is a common theme here. So, EA, lock in on that, man. Make the game harder, or just add sliders to everything that actually work how they should to make things harder. Because I don't know if the sliders work exactly how they should, in my opinion. Next, blocking needs improvements, but when doesn't it? Blocking always needs improvement. So I'll just leave it at that. Blocking is what it is. It will never be perfect, and I understand that, but continue to make improvements to blocking. It's definitely got to be on the wish list for gameplay. Next, make gameplay for offline. Leave Madden for online. And I talked about this earlier in the year. I feel like it's tough to make a video game that's the best of both worlds. I feel like it's tough to make a video game that's good for online and good for offline. I feel like you got to focus on one. And college football, in my opinion, should focus on making gameplay for offline and leave Madden to online. And in my opinion, that makes sense. You got Dynasty in Madden. That's the most popular mode or Dynasty in college football. And that's the most popular mode here. Compared to Madden, the most popular mode is going to be Ultimate Teams. And that's your moneymaker. Leave the offline for college football and really focus on that and make the game around the offline gameplay. And I think that really, really will help, rather than trying to be the best of both worlds. You're kind of doing nothing good at that point. So hopefully they'll go in that direction. Next, after patch, the gameplay feels a lot better. So I hope they just double down on that for this upcoming college football 27, just where the CPU actually throws the ball away a little bit. The CPU could actually run the ball a little bit. And I will say, I feel like me running the ball, I feel like I can run the ball on any defense in the current version of Heisman difficulty with the sliders, even without sliders. So make running the ball a little bit more tough for the user. Next, we need the snow like Madden got. I don't understand why we didn't get it, but Madden got the crazy weather stuff. We got the crazy weather in college football, but it just rains every game. That's what we got. We need the snow like Madden got, and I'm sure we will get this year. I think that's probably low-hanging fruit that will definitely be in the game. Next, wear and tear is better than last year. I just want them to continue to build on that system. I don't think it needs any major changes. Some people think the career wear and tear needs to be removed. In my experience, it hasn't played that big of an impact in my dynasty as a career wear and tear, but some people think it needs to be removed, so I definitely wanted to mention that. Next, the CPU is dumb. It needs an AI improvement. They should not be perfect, but they should have awareness at the end of the game. I would consider the CPU definitely dumb at the end of the game. I played the game recently, and it didn't go to overtime, but they have a 2-minute drill. They have 3 timeouts, and after they get a first down, they keep calling timeouts. It could be a minute 30 left on the clock, and they get a first down. They're on the 25-yard line. They call a timeout. Like, run a hurry-up offense. The clock stops while they set the ball. You have a little bit of time to run a hurry-up or spike it, but they always just use a timeout in that situation. I don't think that's the right decision, but you constantly see the CPU don't make the smartest decisions in late game. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. They could still make mistakes, but I would consider the CPU to be pretty dumb. So that's going to be all I have on gameplay. Feel free to drop anything you have on gameplay down below, but that's going to be my gameplay wish list. And like I said, I gave it a 6 out of 10. And next we're going to talk about what I consider roster. And what roster is just the roster updates and, any issues. So this is not really Dynasty focused. I guess it's more so college football focused because just talking about the rosters, but the rosters also directly relate to Dynasty. So I gave this a 6 out of 10. I did. The rosters that enter the year wasn't perfect. They just now got some guys in the right spot when it comes to players that play receiver are listed at corner. It's a bunch of players like that's listed at the wrong position that they don't even play. So it's a bunch of those situations that still haven't been fixed. And then also players still don't look right. Like Harlem Berry, he has no hair. In real life, I think he has dreads. And but I understand there's so many players in college football. It's tough to get some of that stuff right. You won't get face scans for everyone. I get that. I 100% get that. But come on, we could fix some of the big names or some of the 5-star, 4-star players that look pretty different than the way they do in real life. So that also leads to let us edit the NIL guys. Let us edit them. Let us change their hairstyles. If we can't change their overall, fine. But let's change their hairstyles, change their positions, some of that stuff. And let's change positions throughout the season. That's another thing we need to be able to do in Dynasty. Now, when it comes to roster, need to focus on having good rosters early in the cycle, as that's when people make their Dynasty. I don't want to say nobody, but not many people are making dynasties week 15, 16. Make the rosters good as early as possible. As early as possible. That should be the priority because that's when people making dynasties. That first impression is everything. Next is need a roster update way before week 9. Once again, people are making rosters way before week 9. So when we're at week 5 and I want to make a new dynasty with the updated rosters and I got to wait to week 9 to get the updated rosters, that's an issue. That's an issue. Another one, we need to somehow get more players in the game that's, having an impact in real life. There's a lot of players in the game that maybe freshmen or whatever, maybe they don't sign the papers, they don't get in the game, but they're, good players in real life, or they're players in real life that's, will give this roster potential to be a team going forward, but they're not on the roster. I know it's probably not much EA could do about that because maybe they ain't signed the NIL papers, nothing they could do if that's the case. But if we could figure it out, that would be amazing. Next, need a roster update that changes players' abilities. And simple. Like last year, I remember we got a roster update that changed the players' overalls, and then we got another roster update that changed just abilities. So it didn't change no overalls. They just focused on updating abilities for certain guys. Malachi Tony is a guy from Miami who has no abilities, even though he's up to a 91 overall. Trinidad Chambles, quarterback for Ole Miss. First of all, he wasn't in the game until like week 9 or whatever. It took him a while to even get in the game, but he still has no abilities. And I think Malachi Tony also have like normal development trait. So it's like this is a guy that obviously have like impact or maybe star development. So that stuff just don't make sense. Next, roster update should be the same in Dynasty as it is in the rosters. So as you probably know at this point, when you go to make a dynasty with the updated rosters, it'll change certain guys' abilities and it'll change their archetypes. So that'll lead to different abilities. For example, Malachi Tony, guy we just talked about. He's a 91 overall when you look at the rosters. Well, when you make a dynasty, they change his archetype to, I think, a speedster, and his overall goes down 5. And he gets a bunch of abilities in dynasty. So he get like max abilities, but he lose 5 overall. Why is it different? And you'll see that with so many players in in college football or in this video game that just get different abilities and different archetypes and different overalls compared to when you just look at the regular roster. So I don't think that should be the case. I think they both should be exactly the same. Next, roster updates should also change development traits. We kind of talked about that, but they need to also do a roster update that changes abilities and development trait. Next, need to be able to change NIL guys' looks and positions. We also kind of talk about this, but need to be able to update some of that stuff for a guy like Harlem Berry that has a baldy, and I want to make a realistic dynasty. Okay, I'm gonna go give him dreads or long hair, whatever. And then last one for roster, needs to be able to increase roster size. We got the 85 roster limit. I would like to increase that personally to 105 or something. I personally would like to increase that, but I think that could be tremendous, man, tremendous. So that's all I have for roster. Let me know anything down below I missed. Next one is probably going to be the shortest one out of all, and it's Team Builder. And they got the best grade. I gave them an 8.6 out of 10. I think Team Builder made some tremendous improvements because the customization on the website is very, very good. And it's probably some things I'm missing, so feel free to drop them down below. But I'll get into the two things on my wish list for Team Builder. And one, need to be able to add teams without taking out teams. So the current version, if you want to make your Team Builder, you got to take out another program. Well, what if I just want to add a team? So I would love for that to be able to fix that. I'm sure it's tough to do with the coding and whatever, but I would love for you to just be able to add teams to college football. The customization on the website is very good, but from my experience, it could be a little bit tedious. Especially like I was trying to make a team builder where I wanted all the players' overalls to be super low, and even though I made it a cupcake roster, it still took forever just to change everyone over. I mean, 2 hours it took me to change everyone overalls to where they're just around where the roster is like a 60 overall. Took forever, and so that's a little bit tedious. So that's kind of my improvements to where just have it some way to change everyone overalls a little bit easier on the team builder. But like I said, that's all I have. I haven't done too many team builders, so I haven't seen too many issues with it. But like I said, I think that's one of the better things about this video game is the team builder from last year to this year. Tremendous improvements. They got the custom stadiums, or the stadiums where, default stadiums, I guess. One thing I would love for you to be able to add on them stadiums, make stadiums bigger, even real life stadiums. I would love for you to add capacity, but I understand there's probably some issue with the contract they probably have with each school. They don't want you changing Tiger Stadium, so I'm sure it's probably something to do with that, where they can't allow you to add extra seating. So another one that I'm not sure if it is in here or if I covered, but stadium posts need to be able to move. Stadium posts need to be able to move, and I understand that's not under this section of Team Builder, but stadium posts is no reason last year stadium posts went up and down depending how your team was doing, depending on your school prestige, all that stuff. This year is just set in stone that needs to be able to move. All right, we're coming to the end here. Next is going to be Sim/Awards. So this is kind of almost like miscellaneous, but I just called this Sim/Awards. 6.4 out of 10 is what I gave it. So simulation is solid. You'll lose some games, you'll win some games you shouldn't. If you're hot, you're hot. And I think that's what it should be. If you're hot, I think your team should be playing above their ratings, attributes. But I think it should be obvious when you're hot and obvious when your team is cold and you're playing cold and you're playing down below your potential. So first here on my notes is awards seem to never go to the right person. Simple. Simple. I feel like awards don't go to the right person. I feel like I had crazy season with players and I'm not even in consideration, especially with my Purdue series. We went 11-1 in the regular season with Purdue. 11-1. We're not even in consideration for Coach of the Year. To me, that makes no sense. If we don't win it, fine. We had a first round bye with Purdue in year 2. We got to be in consideration for Coach of the Year. So point is, I feel like awards last year, even this year, I feel like just don't always make the most sense. Next, I wish Sim wasn't so playbook based. Some teams would never be good because they're playbook. So if we could figure out some way to make just, first, when you're simming, you need a good playbook. But also, Duke is always in the playoffs because they just have an amazing playbook. Whatever playbook they use is amazing. And I don't know if that should be the case. Like I don't think just because you have a great playbook, every year you're in the playoffs. Every year your team is just playing way above attribute. I think it should be a combination of overall and playbook. And with Duke, it's just playbook. It's really just playbook. Or you'll have a team with an amazing quarterback and a good passing playbook, and they'll make a run. I think that's fine. I like seeing stuff like that, but I just wish it wasn't so playbook dependent. But Maddens and college footballs, Madden especially always been so playbook dependent, whether you win or lose. Next, the sim is okay. You'll lose to some bad teams, and that's realistic. So I definitely want that to continue. Have some randomness with just simulation. Now, I will argue you lose a little bit too many games to bad teams. I will argue that, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Next, I don't know if this should be in this category, but I would like some type of magazine covers, when it comes to simulation and also like recruits or stuff that's going on around your dynasty. Like magazine covers, in my opinion, like would be a good addition. Next here is going to be, and last one for this category is I would like to be able to put on my custom playbooks to use in Dynasty or in a sim. Like you could only play with them. You can't sim with a custom playbook. And I feel like that's wrong. I definitely feel like that's wrong. So next here is what I call customization. And I gave Dynasty a 5 out of 10 for their customization for this past year. And they made some improvements with the customization from last year to this year. When it comes to the portal, you can turn the portal off, extra settings there. Love that. Now, what I want on my wish list is let us change everything about our dynasty. Everything. I want to change every single thing if I want. Let me choose if I want a 12-team playoff, a 16, or if I want to go back to a 4-team playoffs. Let us choose. Just add that option, and, it's on us to choose what we want. Give us the option to change the league rules like 2K does. 2K has an option where you could change, almost every rule. You could change 3 seconds in the paint if you don't want that to be a rule no more. If I wanted to make it where, okay, college football is now 2 feet in bounds, I could change that. And like it should already be programmed in the game because Madden has it, and it's pretty much the same engine. So be able to change some rules. Maybe I want to change the hashes to the same exact as the NFL. So I would love for us to be able to change rules, get crazy with the dynasty. Next, give us the option to change sliders like 2K does. And 2K does a good job with this. You could change the draft slider. You could change how good your draft class is. I would love to do that for my recruiting class. Hey, I want a crazy recruiting class. I want all great players, so I'm going to put the slider all the way up. Or recruiting classes have been too good lately. I'm going to lower it some to make it a little bit more realistic. I would love just a slider on that. Next, let us customize recruiting classes. We kind of talked about this earlier, but let us create a recruit, customize recruiting classes, whatever. Just add that feature to the game, that customization. Next on this list, let us change the league settings to, if we want to change the league like to where it was in 2012, where players couldn't transfer without sitting out, let us do that. Like, there's no reason for us, not to be able to do that, in my opinion. Just give us options to do whatever we want with our dynasty. Someone will like that feature, in my opinion. Next, bring back play cooldown, or not bring back, because it's not in the current version of offline dynasty. Bring play cooldown to offline dynasty, and also have an option to where you can set it for defense or offense. So you could pick play cooldown. That's just a feature where you can't call the same play over and over again, but it's only for your online dynasty. Put it in offline dynasty, and also put it, well, if I can't call this play more than 4 times on offense, let me put that setting on for my offline dynasty if I so choose. So next, that's going to be it for customization. Next, we have immersion. And this is something I gave 5.8 out of 10. And this is just supposed to make the game feel more realistic, like we're, immersed in the college football, whatever. So 5.8 out of 10. I think it's a lot of improvements they need to make. And we kind of covered on some of this stuff earlier. So magazine covers is a big one that I talked about earlier, and I think needs to be in this game. Just some type of, where we got highlight things that's happening in college football, whether it's big commitments, flips, or a standout player. Maybe even a cover athlete. for, the next college football, or every year it's a cover athlete for the next college football, something like that. That would be cool. Next, give us like a social media in the game. Like give us like a Twitter so we could just see what's going on. You can see the decommits and maybe just pop up at the bottom of your screen and just, it just filter through while you're in your dynasty, and it just, pop up information. And, while I'm recruiting and, spending hours in the menus recruiting, I just see, 5-star from Alabama decommits from Auburn, and he opened up this recruitment. I'm like, oh, really? Let me go check out that player. Oh, his commitment is wide open. I could go after him now. Stuff like that could be very, very cool and interesting to add to the game. And we currently have pretty much no version of that whatsoever. I think that would be a nice feature. And it could be commitments, it could be stat stuff. Oh, this player broke this record. This person is on pace to win the height, whatever. It could be you could do a lot of stuff with that social media or that Twitter, because Twitter is so big in college football right now. Next, give us high school commits and flips. And decommits and flips. I don't know why that's not in the game. Like we got decommits, but it's super rare to the point where I would argue it's not really in the game, and it don't even pop up. When a guy decommit from your team, you just gotta notice. You might not even notice. You might just be recruiting and like, I thought this guy was committed. Like, how is it not any notification like, oh, this guy decommitted? Like, come on, give us some type of notification of decommits and flips. So definitely would love for that to be in the game. Next, more information around the league is needed, and that's kind of what I talked about the Twitter. Like, I just feel like I don't know what's going on around the league, and that's not ever the case in real life. And if we knew what was going on, that would lead to more immersion. And maybe let us watch a game. Like if, we want to watch the national championship, let us watch it without having to take over that team. Let us just watch, and, we watch from the slow sim or the super sim. Let us hop in and watch that game if we so choose. Next, if a 5-star decommits or flips, that should be a big deal. It should be a huge deal. It should be like almost a notification on your screen, especially if it was a guy that was committed to you or a guy that you was in a running for. Like, hey, this guy you was once recruiting, he committed here, but now he decommitted. You could go after him now. Like, just let you know that stuff happens. And the next for immersion and last thing on my list here is give us some type of spring games or spring practice. Let us use the freshmen, let them get on campus early, especially if we make a bowl game, you get the bowl practices. Maybe give us a bowl practice where you could use the freshmen. And, that's how it goes in real life. Some freshmen are practicing right now. And when I say freshmen, they was in high school 2 weeks ago, but now they're practicing with their college football team because they enrolled early. Have some type of element to that. Have early enrollees in college football. So that's going to be it for immersion. Now, the next couple categories, we have 3 more categories here. It's stuff that's currently not in the game whatsoever. So I'm not going to give them a grade. This is just stuff I will wish to see in the game in some capacity. And next is NIL. And obviously, NIL is not in the game at all. The words, the letters, NIL is not in the game whatsoever. That's an issue in my opinion. It plays such a huge role in current college football. Last year, this year, and the next probably forever, it'll play such a huge impact. It needs to be in the 3rd installment of College Football 26. Whether you agree or not, it needs to be in the game, or this is not meant to be a realistic game, in my opinion, if it's not in there. So, first note here is need NIL or rev share in the game. What rev share is, every athletic department, has to dedicate money, or I should say not every single one. Every P5 or P4 athletic department had to dedicate money to, every single sport. So football, all their sports. And, they pay that from their like actual athletic department. Then you have NIL, and that's different. NIL and rev share are 2 different things. So I think you need one of them in the game. Maybe you add both. I think rev share would be easier to add in the game because it's almost just like salary cap. But if you add NIL also, then it could be kind of challenging. Now, I will also say I made an NIL tracker that you could use in Dynasty, and it works. So it can't be that terribly hard to add because I've done it with just a Google spreadsheet. College football and them boys at EA, they're smart. They could figure out how to add NIL to the game. Next, NIL could be like salary cap, like Madden. It could be more realistic. Yeah, I kind of already talked about that. It could literally be like a salary cap if you add rev share. All right, next, maybe if you have a great year or a big donation comes through, your NIL cap could go up. And that's really diving into the weeds of what NIL could look like, and how, okay, we got a big donation. We won 8 games, and we was a bad team last year, and we had this big donor come through, drop $1 million on us. Okay, we got some extra NIL money to go get some more transfers. Some stuff like that happens in real life. Why can't it happen in the game? I don't know the best way to do that to where it's fair, but I think it should be in the game some way, somehow. Next, have some recruits only care about money and not football. And maybe I was laughing when I typed that one up because, that's real. That's what it is in real life. Some of these guys don't care about going pro. Some of these guys don't care about whatever. They just care about getting that cheese and chasing the bag. Have some recruits like that. Now, maybe it's obvious the recruits that's like that. Maybe when you get them on campus, maybe you do a visit with a guy, you get them on campus, and you're able to see, oh, this guy just care about cheese. Hey, it is what it is. But I would love for some stuff like that to be in the game. I think that'd be pretty funny. And the last thing for NIL, let me turn NIL on and off. And this will help out with the people that hate NIL. Let us turn it on and off. Just like the portal, we can turn it on and off. Let us turn NIL on and off. Next is going to be what I'm going to call the athletic director game mode. I talked about this a couple times. So it would be Dynasty. It would just be another mode of Dynasty. So what it is the owner mode from Madden over to college football. Now, I think they took owner mode out of Madden, which is super unfortunate, and I don't know why they would ever do that. But I believe they took it out of Madden, so that's not a good sign for college football here. But what this mode would be is like, I want to be able to control everything: ticket prices, parking, concessions, and how much money we bring in. Like if I charge too much for ticket prices and we don't sell out and we make less money, that affects how much NIL money we get, how much money the program brings in. And what else does that affect? How much money we have for coaches, how much money we have for facility upgrades, to expand our stadium, to do this, that, and the third. I think that would be crazy. That would be a crazy feature that we currently don't have whatsoever. So let me control everything. Let me control what coaches we get, what position coaches, if I want to fire our coach, okay, well, I got to pay his buyout. Well, we brought in this much money. We in the negative by this much. Okay. We can't fire that coach, at least for another year. His buyout too much. Or, oh, we want to go buy this coach out from this program. We want to go get whoever. I cost this much. We don't have the money. I think that would be crazy, a crazy feature. And like I said, this might be something that we don't see in 27, but 28. But I would love to get in EA ears and tell them about this amazing idea that I think could be absolutely fire. Next on this athletic director mode is be able to fire coaches, but need to have the money to do so. We kind of already talked about this. Also have the option to play games and still recruit or let the coaches do so. So for the AD mode, if you want to play the games or you want to play certain games, let you play them. Let you recruit if you want to. Or have the coaches do everything and you just run the show. So athletic director mode, love to see it in the game. Hopefully we do get it. And the last thing here is other. And it's just other stuff that I didn't find a category to put it in. First thing, need a better launch. And I think that's super simple because this past launch was bad. Oh, man, it was bad. Just a lot of issues with the game. And I remember it was like a 2-week period after the game came out. Every video I was dropping was talking about another issue with the game, to the point where people were saying, hey, stop making videos talking about issues. Talk about what's good with the game. I'm like, hey, I can't. Every day I play it, I find more things wrong, and I can't not bring it to y'all. That's my job. So, like last launch, this was bad. So I think you need a better launch. That's a big first impression. And at the end of the day, the first impression is everything. If the first time you pick up a game and you play the game and you think it's bad, you might not pick it up again. You could never tell me Cyberpunk is good. And I understand, I heard they updated Cyberpunk, but when that game first came out, that thing was bad. That thing was glitchy. That thing was bad. And I think I played it when it first came out. I would never pick it up. Like personally, I wouldn't. You could never tell me that game is good. I don't care what updates they had. I'm not playing that game. And some people that's like that for college football. I'm like that for Cyberpunk, and some people like that for college football. So you need a better launch for this upcoming game. Next thing on the other is clean up the bugs or things that doesn't work right. And I think it's a lot of bugs. We kind of talked about one earlier with the recruit that committed to Notre Dame, but he ended up on our roster. Notre Dame didn't even offer the scholarship, but he was on our roster. I don't know. Need to clean up the bugs for sure. Need to just make things work. And also, I feel like they need to think more things through. I feel like they don't think every feature through, and sometimes it don't work correct. And archetypes was a big example. Archetypes and the abilities, they wasn't aligned because they wasn't, in my opinion, fully thought out. And then last thing I have here, need more equipment. I don't want any beef with the equipment guys. All the people that, talk about all the equipment, I don't know what y'all need. I'm not an equipment guy. Y'all got to let them know down below in the comments. Whether it's arm sleeves, leg sleeves, ski masks, whatever y'all need, goggles, a bunch of things that's not in the game. Y'all got to let them know down below. But need more equipment definitely in the game. But that is the wish list, man. That is the wish list. Long video. It was light when we started. It was bright outside. It's now dark. It's now nighttime, man. If y'all enjoyed the content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Merry Christmas, and we'll on to the next one.